Hello and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we are going to be having a look at how to integrate Google Admobs in a Flutter app using the Riverpod state management. Now, I have already added two dependencies in my pubspec.yml, so Flutter Riverpod and Google Mobile Ads. I have the very default main.dart, as you can see, and I'm going to run this, and after that, we are going to be doing everything together from scratch. So while this thing is booting up, let me make two folders, views and controller. And we have an error. The error is we need to add multi-dex support and we need to upgrade the minimum dependency. So go to Android app source build Gradle. If you come down, you need to increase this mean SDK version to 21 and to add multi-dex. I think the thing is Flutter multi-dex. We need to add this line. So multi-dex enabled must be true. So we add this one here and save this. And to use Google Ads, we also need a few things. I will attach this link down in the description. And this link is an official link from Google where they show you how to use Google Admob. We can go next. Next. And then next. So in our manifest file, we need to add this tag, metadata, inside of our application tag. So let's copy this much. Go back to our app and Android app source main Android manifest.xml. So you see there is this closing application tag. We are just going to be adding this above it and save it. Also for iOS, we need to add this in the runner info.plist. So copy this much. Go back to iOS runner info.plist and add this after any string. Do not add this in between a key and string, but after a string. So here we are going to paste this and we should be good. So with that, let's go to main.dart, and in main.dart, I'll remove all the comments. I'll remove everything. We don't need any of this. And here, what we are going to do is give it an async decoration and say widget flutter binding dot ensure initialized. So after this widget flutter binding and before run app, we need to add another line. We need to add await Google Ads. So you need this dependency dot instance dot initialize. So with this, if we save and then we run this, we should have a running app. So I actually showed all of this stuff to you so that you know how to run this app. So you need to add your key in info.plist in Android manifest. You need to add multi-dex, you need to upgrade your minimum SDK version, and you need this. And to add this, you need to add this also. So let's wait for the app to launch. Great. So let us start off by adding two views. In the views, I'll first add home underscore view dot dart and another underscore view dot dart. So in the home view, let us add a stateless widget. Now, since we are using Riverpod, well, it's all right. We will do as we need. So let's just add a stateless widget and we call it home view. And we want a scaffold. So let's add this home view to our main material app. So home should now be the home view. So with that, we have this. And inside of this home view, what I want is on the top, there should be the banner ad. And here should be two buttons that I can click to show you interstitial and reworded ads. So to do so, let's add an app bar. App bar is not necessary. We are just doing it for the semantic purposes, just to make it look nice. Title should be a const text. Admob tutorial. Great. Now in the body, I want a column. And in this column, we are going to be having first the banner ad. And after this, we want an expanded so I can keep everything in the middle. And in the center, I want to put a child, which is another column, which should have two elevated buttons. So on pressed is empty, and the text should be a const text, where I say interstitial add. And I can just copy this and paste it here. Main access element to center. Okay, great. So here we are going to be adding the banner ad, and for these two buttons, we want the interstitial and reworded ad. So what should happen is whenever I click this interstitial ad, whenever I click this, it should not go to the second page. It should just show me the ad. And for the reworded ad, whenever I click this, it should show me the reworded ad and then it goes to the second page. So that's the idea. Now, to do everything, we have the UI ready. And, oh, we also need to add the stateless widget for another view. Okay, great. Now, how do we start off with Google Ads? In controller, let's add admob underscore controller dot dart. And here we are going to having three things. So first we will have a admob helper class. We are going to be having an admob or maybe an add state. And then we want a Riverpod state management solution to provide it for the entire app by, let's say, admob controller. So these three things we need. Now, if you come to this link, you will see we can add this helper class, and I'll explain what this is. So let's just copy this much and paste it here. Now, if we also go back, we can take these IDs just for demonstration purposes. So this thing here should be copied, and you go to Android app source main Android manifest, and you should have this here. And likewise, you take this one that corresponds to iOS and you use this one in the info.plist. Now for banner ad, we can copy this one and paste this one here. And for the iOS banner ad, we can copy this much and paste this one here. So let me explain what this is. I'll just remove this. So this is just a class. So class add helper, where we have this static string where we want this banner add unit ID. And what we are doing is, if we are using an Android phone, we want this for the identifier. Else, if we are using an iOS phone, we want this as an identifier. Any other item, we throw an error. Likewise, the same for the interstitial and the reworded. So let's get the IDs for interstitial and paste this one here. Get the ID for the iOS interstitial and paste it here. Likewise, we take the reworded ID for Android and paste this one where it should be. So this one, paste it. And for the reworded iOS, we paste this here. So the main idea is we code everything together and we call it a day for both iOS and Android. So that's it for having the IDs to identify the ads. Now it's time to go for the ad state. Now the ad state is a class. Class add state, and for this class add state we want a final banner ad and say maybe banner ad. We want a final interstitial ad. We want a final reworded ad and call it reworded ad. Now we should generate a constructor for this, and we need a copy with. So that's it for the state. Now it's time that we go for the controller. So we are going to be using this state notifier class of Riverpod and call it Admob controller. And here, this should take this add state as the initial state. Now here we want add state. And we will just set everything to null. Oh, my bad. To do so, before we do so, in this add state class, let me just remove it real quick. All of this should be nullable, because we don't know if we are going to be having it or not. Sometimes it loads, sometimes it does not load. So now we generate the constructor and the copy with and minimize this. Now here we can add the add state, and banner ID is null, interstitial is null, and reworded is null. Now we need functions to load them. Now I have created some function here and I'll show you. So we can take this function and I'll say what each of this is. So take this function and we say we have a future void of load banner ad, and inside of this we return a banner ad. The banner ad takes a banner ad unit ID, which we get from the add helper class that we have here. So add helper dot banner ad unit ID. So we take both for Android and iOS. Then we send a request, which is add request. We set a banner ad size, and we can have many size, but I want to go with banner. We want to have this listener where we add a banner ad listener. And on add failed, we can do something. What I want is on ad load. So whenever this ad loads, I want to update our state, and that's why we have this copy width for this ad state. And we set the banner ad as the ad that we are loading. Likewise, we can have our reworded and interstitial, and we can just paste both of them here. So it's just the same thing. So additionally, what we're doing is on load, if there is an error, we run this function again so that we can load to the state. So that's it. Now we need a provider to provide everything. What we are going to do is having a state notifier provider, and I'll call it Admob provider. And this Admob provider needs the class that it is going to be providing and the state that it will provide. So add state, and it's going to return us this very same thing, so this very same class. So with that, we are pretty much done. We can just move to the UI part. In the main.dart, we need to add provider scope. So provider scope, and we're good. Now in the home view, we can change this to be a stateful widget because we need the init class. So in the init class, we want to use the ref. Now to use the ref, we need to add consumer annotation here. So consumer stateful widget, and we need to add this consumer to both this state. So with that, we can come here and say ref.read. So in the init state, admob provider.notifier.load banner ad. And we also want to load the interstitial, and we also want to load the reworded. Now, if we restart this app, you see we are getting a lot of advertisement information here. Great. Now to use the banner ad, what we will do is I'll just copy some code and I'll show what each of that is. So I'll just copy this much and paste it here. Let me just make it easy for you so you can see everything clearly. So in between this comment, I'm going to add this, and I'm just going to uncomment it. So what we want is we want to rev.watch at mob provider, and there the banner ad. So if the banner ad is empty, we just want an empty sized box. If it is not empty, however, we want to give it a height of rev.watch admob provider banner ID's size of height, and for the width we want the banner ad's width, and as a child we want an ad widget that shows the ad from rev.watch admob provider.banner ad. And with that, you see we have this ad running here. Now it's time that we show the reworded interstitial and then the reworded. So for the interstitial, what we want is on pressed. We want to use this much. So on pressed, we want to show the interstitial ad. So if I click interstitial ad, see, we can see this interstitial ad. Now, if you want to daisy chain something, so maybe you want to show something and then you go to something. So after this is done, you can add when complete, and you can add your data here, like what happens after it completes. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do that for the rewarded. So I'm just going to add a divider here, so it's easy. Now for the rewarded ad, I want to use this. And what I want is here, first I want to see if rev.watch Admob provider dot reworded add is equals to null. So if it is null, I want an empty function. I don't want to do anything. And if it is not null, I want to add this code here. So it's just the same thing. What we are doing here is my bad. We need to cut this much and have it as a different function. So here what I want is I want to show the add. After the add is done, only then I want to go to navigator.offContext.push material page route, and this should take the another view that we have. So we should be good. So with this, if we click rewarded ad, we see this.
Video test ad. Nice job loading it. I'm gonna go fire the reward callback for you.
And then when we close it, we come to this new view. So you see, this is because we have this when complete. So this when complete gives us this option to do something after the ad is done. And we can have this exact same thing here as well. I mean, here as well. So with that, that is all for this lecture. You can open up your own Admob account, add your app, and get your own advertisement ID. And once you get your own advertisement ID, you can create such banner IDs, like you have another banner ID. So you add something like this and you add your own parameter, own key. Likewise, you do it for everything. So that's it. All you have to do is just add things here. All right, with that, take care.